Since thousands of years ago, monsters have risen from the earth and battled each other, and all of humankind normally watches it for their entertainment. A town called Stoker has long been a place for monster wrestling. Their hometown heroes were the champion Rayburn and his coach, Jimbo Coyle. But unfortunately, Rayburn and Jimbo died at sea, which left Stoker without their heroes. Back in the present day, Stoker has built a stadium where wrestling activities take place. Their new champion is a shark monster called Tentacular, who is being coached by Jimbo's former student, Siggy Martin. Almost the entire town shuts down. Shops close, people abandon their work, to watch their hero Tentacular fight against a giant bulldog monster known as King Gorge. Jimbo has a daughter named Winnie, a major monster wrestling fan who dreams of becoming a monster wrestling coach, just like her dad. The match finally commences. Tentacular is getting the beating of his life from King Gorge. After a long and intense fight, Winnie notices that Gorge has a tell, a secret move he does whenever he's about to streak. She rushes to the wrestling ground and gives Tentacular a tip. Gorge licks his lips before going in for a hit. Tentacular pays attention and uses the tip to his advantage. Thanks to that, he manages to subdue Gorge with a powerful smackdown, remaining the champion of Stoker, to the joy and excitement of the whole town. But during the celebration, Tentacular announces that he's leaving for another town where he received a better offer, meaning Stoker no longer has a hometown hero. The people of Stoker gather for a town meeting. The mayor introduces a councilwoman who explains that without a champion monster, they can't hold wrestling tournaments. And without tournaments, the stadium won't generate money and will have to be shut down. A wealthy man named Jimothy Brett Chadley wants to destroy the stadium and turn it into a car park. Everyone seems to give up, including Winnie's mom, Maggie. But Winnie stays motivated, determined to find a new champion. If she fails, the stadium will be demolished in just a few days. Maggie tries to stop Winnie from going through all that trouble, but Winnie travels to a town called Pittsmore, a place that also lost its champion and now holds illegal monster fights in an abandoned warehouse. There, Winnie starts trying to recruit different skilled monster wrestlers, but they all just laugh at her. Later on, she spots Steve, Rayburn's son, and recognizes him from when they were kids. Steve is also involved in the underground matches, where he's forced to lose every night. Winnie tries to get his attention, unaware that Steve is supposed to lose his match to a monster named Clunk. If he wins, their boss, Lady Mayhem, will be furious. She threatens Steve, ordering him to pay her back immediately or face the consequences. Fearing her wrath, Steve decides to escape by joining Winnie and returning to Stoker to become their new champion. Winnie starts training Steve as quickly as possible, but when they enter the gym, Steve has flashbacks of his father discouraging his love of dance over wrestling. He refuses to do any serious training until he gets an actual match. Winnie takes him to a merchant ship where underground fights are also held. There, a monster named Ramarilla challenges Steve. Seeing how massive Ramarilla is, Steve gets scared, but when Winnie tells him that only the winner gets the money and that he won't earn a cent if he loses, Steve starts putting in some effort. Following Winnie's instructions, he runs around the ring until Ramarilla is too tired to continue. Steve ends up winning the match. However, popular sports commentators like Mark Remy and Lights Out McNulty call the match one of the worst ever due to how ridiculous it looked. Winnie continues to push Steve through intense physical training, but it doesn't go well. Steve knows he can never be like his dad, and that's the very reason he left Stoker in the first place. Winnie soon discovers that Steve has a passion for dancing. She then tries an idea, turning his dance moves into fighting skills. Later on, they start getting into different matches where Steve is able to defeat every monster using his dance techniques. He wins so many matches with his unique fighting method that a lot of wrestling fans begin to notice and admire him. Winnie tries to set up a match for Steve to fight King Gorge, only to find out that the mayor and the councilwoman are preparing to sign over the stadium to Jimothy. It is then revealed that Tentacular was the one who orchestrated the purchase of the stadium. He believes people have always seen him as second best because of the legendary Rayburn. So by destroying the stadium, he hopes to erase Rayburn's legacy and make people forget about him. Unfortunately, Steve returns to Pittsmore and pays back the money he owes Lady Mayhem, ready to return to his unfulfilling job. But when Steve opens his locker and sees pictures of himself and his father enjoying time together, he quickly changes his mind and returns to Stoker to find Winnie. He takes Winnie to the stadium, where a huge crowd has gathered to watch Tentacular blow the stadium up. But just before that happens, Steve removes the explosive cables and steps out in front of the crowd, revealing himself as Rayburn Jr., the son of the legendary Rayburn. To the fans' excitement, he challenges the champion Tentacular to a fight in order to save the stadium. News spreads quickly around the world. After all these years, the legend Rayburn has a son, and he's challenging the arrogant champion. Even Steve's former boss, Lady Mayhem, and other monsters are amazed to learn that Steve is Rayburn Jr. To avoid public humiliation, Tentacular agrees to the fight. Immediately, Winnie resumes training Steve, and many more people now support him. The long-awaited match finally arrives. Steve is called into the ring, and the entire stadium erupts in cheers. Then, the reigning champion, Tentacular, is introduced. Steve becomes afraid, unsure if he can live up to his father's legacy, but Winnie gives him an inspiring coach's speech to prepare him for the fight. The fight begins. In the first round, Steve dodges all of Tentacular's attacks with his dance moves, which makes Tentacular furious. In the second round, Tentacular, after getting a tip from his coach, manages to grab Steve. He begins to counter the dance moves and easily overpowers him with little effort. After that round, Tentacular's coach, Siggy, urges Winnie to throw in the towel, believing Tentacular will easily destroy Steve. She thinks it over and almost agrees, not wanting to see Steve get hurt. But Steve approaches her and insists they don't give up. He believes they just need a new strategy. The fans cheer even louder, thrilled that Steve refuses to quit. In the third round, Tentacular is ready to finish Steve off. Both monsters charge toward each other, and for the first time, Rayburn Jr. knocks Tentacular to the ground, shocking everyone. Steve's new strategy is to keep dancing and annoying Tentacular, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. After a grueling battle, Steve gives it everything he has and pulls off a high jump, aiming to come down on Tentacular. But both of them knock each other out. They lie on the ground. Tentacular begins to rise, and if Steve doesn't get up before the referee counts to 10, Tentacular will win. The crowd chants Steve's name, urging him to stand. Steve slowly rises and manages to lift Tentacular, rotating him around the ring before delivering a final smackdown. Steve is announced as the new champion. Tentacular is taken away in shame, but his coach still congratulates Winnie, telling her she's just as great a coach as her father was. The whole crowd goes wild. Steve is now the new champion of Stoker. The stadium is saved, and everyone celebrates with a dance party.